Thank you for tuning in to my Prerogative podcast. I'm Nikita.
This is Moses.
And we will be talking about...
faith, religion, and God.
Yeah, so we kind of like switching it up. We've ran out of relationship topics. And quite frankly, I don't feel like a subject matter expert in the relationship department because I'm always single. So I just kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit.
That's not a prerequisite. Single people love giving relationship advice. That's like the whole thing we do.
And I feel like that is like the main thing that's always like, I went to my married friends for relationship advice. Like, no one like actually broadcast that they took relationship advice from single people and actually used it and it actually worked. Like, even if it does work, they will never reveal. So
I feel like married people give terrible advice.
I do too. I agree.
Why? Because it's like, it makes sense because it's like, Moses, like, any relationship advice? Like, yeah, well, I married the first girlfriend I had. Like, oh, so you don't know shit. you haven't been in the trenches.
I feel like terrible advice can come from either party, married or single, but I feel like a lot of married people relationship advice, it's shit that worked for them. The shit that worked for you is not universal. And so you're like, yeah, do this will work. And you got faith in that shit because that actually did work for you, but it doesn't necessarily work for me in my relationship or my marriage or whatever. So that's why I say that.
I just feel like relationship, people who like get married early and like, oh, like, can I get some dating advice? What do you do on dates? Well, Moses, I only went on like one first date and it worked. Like, oh, so great.
We're not talking about lottery winners, though. We're talking about, like, any married couple.
Yeah,
not, like, the ones that, like, hit it out the park the first round. Like,
those are all of my married friends.
Yeah, see, to
they just get married out of college.
That's an anomaly. Like, I don't really see that.
I know a lot of anomalies. I know a lot of them.
You are an anomaly, that's why.
I'm friends with just, like, amazing relationship people. And I'm just their little single person pet.
Oh my god! You make them You make them feel better about their decisions and shit.
Wow!
At least we're not like. At least we didn't end up like Moses.
I didn't phrase it like that. Mine was I phrased it in a kind of positive way.
I know.
Hey,
I'm calling spade a spade. I'm just saying. I would always feel bad for like that single. Like if I was in a relationship. And, like, I knew the struggle it took to get to that point. And then, like, my single friends, like, I would be like, oh, man, it's always like, we got to hook this person up. Like, it's always like, let's hook the single people up. And that's, like, awkward.
You see, as a professional third wheeler, I see it both sides. Like, maybe sometimes they're like, oh, Moses, hook you up. But on the other side, I think they see my life and then it's the vision of, like, of freedom. Because it's like, Moses, you can just do whatever you want. I can't. It's like, you guys want to hang out? I can't, Moses. Too bad. I can go. See you. Like, you guys want to go out and do this? Like, I can't, Moses. No.
Yeah, but maybe they just don't want to, and so they're using their relationship to get out of it. Like, you don't have that opportunity, that luxury to like use a relationship to get you out of shit. Because it's like, you ain't got to check in with nobody.
I would say that, but they always invite me to everything. So clearly, they only want me around, and they can't always go where I go. So I don't know. Sometimes but it's grass greener other side, you know.
True.
Like I look at what they have. Oh, that's nice. When it works.
Right. Just depends on the seasons, right?
Yeah. Like I also have friends now who've been divorced, so it's like shit, crazy.
Yeah.
And then
What's the difference from like a breakup and a divorce? Like, I feel like it's the same thing, but with the divorce, you have all like the legal aspect to it and like the splitting of, the assets and shit like that. But it's just more legal. I feel like if you're in a long-term relationship and you break up, it's the same shit because you stop.
No, I think it's like it's not just the legal stuff. It's from what I've seen. I think it's like how do you say, the implication of being together for a long time that just gets broken. because like you had this vision of like you had the vision of spending your life with that person. You guys did the whole big commitment. Say I'm gonna marry you. We're gonna have a wedding. Invite all our friends, and then it's like, then then you break up, you divorce, and it's like, oh, it kind of like from the friend I talked to about it hurts a little bit more. Not just from internally, but also like you can feel almost embarrassed, like because like oh, I went to a wedding.
I feel like it's the same shit though. Like if you're in a long-term committed relationship, and I feel like the commitment that you're talking about, like where you kind of tie this knot in front of, like more ceremonial. It's like, oh, I'm doing it in front of people, and they're witnessing my commitment to this person. I feel like the same could be said for just somebody in a long-term committed relationship that didn't. Yeah, because it's like, oh, I envision my life with this person. I can envision the rest of my life with this person, and then when it doesn't work out, it
is like categorically different though, because like sure, if you're in a long-term relationship with someone, like the people I knew, they were together for like 4 or 5 years, and I would say like that's a long time to be together. They made a lot of stuff work, but like to get married, it is like I think an extra step, and like an extra level of like commitment. Like, hey, not only do I want to be with you forever, I want to solidify it in some tangible way. And it's like, we couldn't make it work. It's like shit.
I don't know. I feel like it's the same tomato without the legal ramifications that
Have you been married before?
No, I haven't.
No.
I don't have room to talk. My point exactly. We cannot be subject matter experts on relationships because we're not in relationships. So when you asked me that, it was like, hey, are you married?
Well, because like,
shut the fuck up.
I wasn't a shut the fuck up. It was more like
that's how you said it. Like, oh wait, have you been married? Oh, okay, sure.
Well, because I had to ask, because at the very least, that particular scenario is definitely something you have to experience. I feel because like. Or at least know someone who went through it. Having seen someone, a best friend who went through it, talking him through it, like his feelings and things like that, like, I could see where he was coming from. That like it did hurt an extra way, especially the way the relationship ended, because she cheated on him, and like it was really quick. Their marriage lasted maybe like a year. So for him, it was like, that Moses feels like I'm an idiot. It's like, hey, man.
But how is that different from me being in that same type of scenario? And I'm telling everybody about this person, like, oh, this person's great. He's wonderful. We're going to spend the rest of our life together. The only thing I didn't do was, stand up in a church or whatever location and make the commitment known.
I think the whole nature, like, it's like the nature of the dating scene is like, I think it's slightly different now, but let's say like you date someone to eventually marry them or something. That's like the traditional route. Yeah.
Right.
I think there's an expectations that like relationships, just dating relationships, even if it's a long term, those can end. It still hurts. It's still a big deal if it's a long time and it ends. But like to take that extra step, I think that extra level of commitment of like, hey, let's make it legal or something. It's like, oh shit. There is something a little bit extra, I think, that comes from doing
all the that. Legal aspect.
No, not just the legal, but the legal, symbolic, like, because there is more to it. Like
the legal aspect.
No, I'm saying there's more to it. I'm saying there's more to it than the legal aspect. Like there's it's the level of commitment or the type of commitment or
I call bullshit though. Like
I don't,
because if somebody commits, I don't understand the difference from I'm committing myself to you and I'm letting you know that, and committing myself in front of a group of people and a church or whatever route you take. Like what's the fucking difference? Like it's still a commitment. It's still your word at the end of the day. It's just in a different scenario. So
the different scenarios, the implications, like you get married, it's like, hey, I'm choosing to stay with you forever. And it's like
because
dating.
because you locked in.
Well, that's like the whole
that
purpose of like the whole symbolic purpose of doing it.
Right. So
Like,
what's the difference if we are living together and we split everything down the middle? We have joint bank accounts. We both of us are on the mortgage. You know what I mean? Like, what's the fucking difference? Is what I'm saying. Like, there's no difference. We both we're both locked in. Like we both bought this car, so it's 50-50 hours. You know, the house is 50-50 hours. The dog is 50-50 hours. The babies are 50-50 hours. Like, what's the fucking difference besides this piece of paper?
the symbolic meaning for it. At the end of the day, it's a symbolic representation of a type of commitment. And it's like, oh, it might not mean something subjectively to each. It might mean something different subjectively to each person. So
Yeah,
there is, but to say categorically that there's nothing additional by doing that, I think that's not true. I don't think it's like terribly important, but I can understand like the checking of the categorical difference of like, hey, like you're married or you're not married. It's like, oh, that is slightly different, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the government is like, yeah, this is different because if you ain't married, you're single, so
Anyway,
you can just walk away anytime. I don't know. I feel the same shit. The only difference is the legal entity that you add on it.
I mean, I guess this segues into the topic of like what it means to you, maybe like religiously or symbolic. Like the symbolism is, I guess, the other aspect of it, right? Or if it has some religious significance to you. So depending on the person, it has varying amounts of meaning, I suppose.
True.
You know, like I'm definitely not an anti-marriage person. I'm not a.
Oh, I'm a pro-marriage person. I love marriage. I love the well, I'll take that back. I love the idea of marriage and committing yourself, but I don't think that you have to go through a church in order to make it symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know,
I mean,
we can
just go to the courthouse, I guess.
You don't even have to go to the courthouse. Like, I can just we can do a ceremony in our backyard where it's just me and you there, and we choose to commit our lives and ourselves to each other. You know what I mean? Like,
Do you still get the certificate or?
no, I can fucking do that through tantra. Like, we can do that in the bathtub. You know what I mean? Like, it's different ways to commit yourself and,
Well, yeah, but wait.
you know, solidify it to where you have that spiritual component.
I agree with
if
that. Now I feel like we're switched sides because now I'm like, wait, I want the legal certificate too. I want the tax benefit.
You like tap my name so I know it's real. Shit. Like, yeah, that's true.
I want the benefits with it. So just go down to the courthouse. Let's fill out the paperwork. I want to change my tax form. Like, I've got a family. I'll take some extras. Like, thank you. I am not single anymore.
So it's like, if I try to leave, you're like, what the fuck you think you going? Not so fast, motherfucker.
Like, you're like Moses, let's just do a tantra thing in the backyard. I'm like, no. Here's the form. You can sign it right here.
Like, yeah, we can do all that. And then after, I'm gonna need you to sign this piece of paper right here. Like, if all of that was true, I'm gonna need you to sign this.
Like, Nikita, that's beautiful, amazing idea. But here's my lawyer. We're just gonna sit down right here, draft out some paperwork. Hi, I'm Moses' lawyer from Johnson & Johnson.
I would have expected you to say from Williams & Williams, coming from Moses, but okay.
Well, I don't want to hire my mom. My mom's a lawyer. She'd be like, that's right, I've drawn up the paperwork for us. She would do some shit like that.
Oh my god.
Like, here's the agreement.
All right. So, this is a good segue into our actual topic.
See, Nikita, there's always relationship stuff to rant about.
I know, right? We just can't get away from it, no matter how hard we try.
I mean, it's just life. It's just the human experience. It's just kind of weird, kind of lame.
All
limited
right.
time on Earth, we spend a lot of it just trying to figure out what is love. What is it look
What
like? Where
is
will I find
love?
it? Right?
Baby, don't hurt me.
It's a good
Don't
song.
hurt me. It's so many songs about love.
I think
Like,
that's like 90% of all songs.
agreed.
Like
And and, and,
we
the, and and the rest is about like like Robin and how much shit you got and what somebody can do for you or what you can do for somebody.
I feel like all songs. I think you break all songs into three categories: either what you're doing before you fall in love, falling in love, and then what it feels like to be in love. That's like every category of song.
Oh no, you forgot one.
What?
What it feels like when you fucking break up.
Oh yeah,
You forgot.
four categories.
That's a big one.
There's like what you're doing when you're not in love, what you're doing when you fall in
When
love,
you're in
what love
right.
feels like, and then what it feels like to not be in love anymore.
To fall out of love.
Yeah, that's like the full all songs and fall somewhere in there.
True. All right, so religion, faith, God. What's your take on it?
What's your take on it? You're a religious person, Nikita?
I am not a religious person. I am a deep spiritual person. I grew up religious, and I was trying to find, purpose and meaning about my life, and I guess like the notion of a higher power, like the feeling connected to that. And religion was great. It was cool while it lasted, but I feel like for me, it forced God into a box, which ultimately forced me into a box. And I felt very restricted on like how much I can achieve and how much I can spread my wings, in the world today because, because like with religion, it's just a lot of restrictions. And with those restrictions, when you place restrictions on God, you place restrictions on yourself and you limit yourself. And so that's my overall take on religion and God. I do believe in God. I believe in a higher power. But for me, God is everything. And, the good, the bad, the up, the down, the ugly, all of that. Like God is in everything. And so, yeah.
There you go.
We're all connected, So
I can dig
about you?
that. I'm
You're
not
Catholic,
religious.
right?
I went to Catholic school. My whole life. First to 12th grade, I went to Catholic schools. 2 Catholic
So
schools.
how was that? Like, did you pray? Like,
I mean, we had to.
I remember like being in like kindergarten and first grade. I don't remember it too much after first grade. We used to pray in public schools.
Really?
I remember that. Like,
That's weird.
we would like pledge allegiance and then like we would pray and shit. But that was also during the time when teachers would like whack us with like sticks and shit. So, I got to experience like before they separated like church and state and all that shit, like when it was just all lumped together.
Girl, like the same
it was a
age.
different time.
Like the same age.
No, because I'm a little bit older than you. I'm like
Not that
4 years
much.
older than you. I'm like 4 years older than you.
You're
That
talking
means
like
that when
from
I
a
was
whole different time.
no, well, you didn't experience. Well, you went to a Catholic school, but I bet you did. You didn't experience no teacher like whacking you and shit. With
We're allowed to do that.
exactly. So we come from a different time. Okay, you're not from the '80s. You're from the '90s. There's a difference.
Whatever. The way you're saying it, you're like
Moses,
the way you're
Moses.
saying it, that like back in my day, back in the 1600s.
Because you can't, but you can't relate though. You can't relate. So don't come for me, Moses. I did not send for you. Okay. Do not.
Okay.
Back up off me. Okay.
Yeah, so I went to Catholic school, and like we had to pray. Like I still remember all the prayers because that truly it was the most effective brainwashing ever. Because I can't forget them. I don't think to the day I died.
Why do you think it was brainwashing though?
I mean, quite literally, literally when you think about it, like I didn't even know anything about the stuff about religion before I got there. And then they just basically for how long? For like 12 years?
Yeah. So you didn't learn about it at home?
No, my parents,
Like
when I grew up, my parents weren't very religious. I think they
so
were.
you had an idea. You had an idea, but you went to school to learn.
I mean, before I went to Catholic school, first grade to 12th grade. So anything before that, I probably had no concept of it. You know what I mean? Like I was like before I went there, I was 5 years old. Like my parents were sitting down and talking to me like, "Hey, here's God." They're like, "Oh, I don't know. I'm 5. The world is." So before Catholic school, I would say no. I didn't really have any concept of like, not a huge concept of religion. I think the most I ever knew was just like my name was like a religious name. Like, oh, like you're, cause, you know, I know there's like an old picture Bible that was in my house. And I remember like them showing to me, I had no clue what was going on. I just liked the pictures, like, these are cool pictures. I remember that sensation exactly, but I had no concept. So Catholic school was when like, hey, God, Jesus, all this stuff, because you have to take religion class every year. You have to pray before every meal. I think every class you had to say a prayer along with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hold on. So you did that from 1st through 12th grade.
Yeah.
How much longer did you continue that practice post graduation, high school, and shit like that?
Second I graduated, I stopped.
Oh, you stopped.
Oh, yeah.
So you didn't have like an inner conflict, like, oh, no. I feel like I should be doing this because this is what I was trained to do, but I don't want to do it.
I always thought it was weird.
Oh shit! Did you ever like voice your opinion about it? Like,
yeah, when I was like
express yourself. No, I'm saying like when you were in it, like in
high school. In high school.
Oh, high school. Yeah, I forgot.
High school.
Damn.
Yeah.
So you didn't get out until college. I don't know why I was thinking like you only did it through like elementary school.
No. All of elementary, middle, and high school. I went to Catholic school.
Okay, so you stopped in high school, but you were still in Catholic school, and nobody said nothing to you, or?
So like my Catholic, I didn't just go to Catholic school when I was in high school. I went to like the Catholic school in like Philadelphia. It was like Roman Catholic high school for boys. And I was like, damn, this place is religious as fuck. Actually, at both schools I went to were religious as fuck. They were super religious.
So, do you feel like you shied away from it because it was like forced on you and you didn't like come to it yourself? Because I do feel like, you know, it adds more conflict and confusion when it's like forced on you. And, you know, with religion, anybody can get sucked up into that shit because nobody wants to go to hell. Mm-hmm. So it's like.
Well, for me, it was like, even when I was a little kid, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. Because I think I was always a scientific and inquisitive person. So, like, religion,
is that
faith
in
general. I'm sorry?
What the fuck? Is something like flying over your apartment right now?
Oh, there's a plane.
Oh.
Yeah.
That shit is loud.
Yeah. Okay. I know you can hear it. I can't do anything about the plane, Nikita. Moses, can you turn that down? Let me fly up real quick.
Moses, shut that fucking plane up. No, I'm just kidding.
Let me fly up there. Talk to the pilot. Let me call the pilot. Yeah, hello, can you fly just a few miles over the left?
You know, I wouldn't put it past you. Like, because when you do get this, like, Moses, like, persona, your alter ego, like the Moses from fucking AD and shit, like, you would believe that you could do that shit. But
I mean, I can't do that. I'm not going to do it on camera.
Okay.
I'm not going to do it on camera.
Look at
People can't know. But no, like, so faith and things like that, if you ask enough questions, there's usually going to be a point where there aren't really any answers.
True.
And so I feel like, in fact, them teaching me so much about religion, not that it was necessarily forced on me, but the fact that we had to learn about it like every year, 12 years straight, I realized at some point, like, why doesn't make any sense? I don't get it. And so, like, by the time I was like 12 or 13, I was like, yeah, this isn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like intuitively, I always like, this shit is so contradictory. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And like, the Bible was like one book that I could never read because I could never really follow it. Because like I would get to one scripture and it would say one thing, and then another scripture would be completely contradicting the last scripture, but it was like all of this is true. And so like I feel like intrinsically it never added up, or it never really made a whole bunch of sense. But I think that's only because it's like based on like religion. I don't want to say propaganda because I feel like that's mean, but it's religion, and I feel like the religion proponent of it doesn't add up. The actual belief itself.
So you definitely, it's not propaganda. Definitely, that's a little too. Well,
I think that's harsh.
A little harsh, but yeah. I see the idea. The idea, but one, you don't want to read the Bible with any type of univocality, meaning like not the Bible is not one singular voice. It's a lot of different books compiled together. They do contradict because that's the nature of it. Like this author wrote this at a whole separate time. This one wrote this at a whole separate era, and like they didn't know what the other person was going to write. Even when you get to the New Testament, where people like to say like, "Oh, the New Testament is like all one singular philosophy." No, it's all completely separate, different ideas, different accounts of what happened. So that's one confusing thing. Is when you're growing up, is a lot of Christians think the Bible is all a singular voice when it's not.
Right.
Like understanding that definitely gives a lot of leeway, I think, to the Bible.
I wouldn't say singular voice because it's all from different like people. You know what I mean?
Well, in the sense that like there's no a lot of casual, let's say, Christians who don't necessarily study the Bible in depth. They'll think that like the Bible is like doesn't contradict itself. Like it's all just one continuous philosophy that has no contradictions. Like, oh, like certain Christians will believe that, well, in the Old Testament, this reference here was actually a reference to Jesus way down the line, even though they had no concept or no way to even know Jesus was coming. But they'll say, well, the bridge between those two things is God. It's all the voice of God. So God knew, therefore he spoke through them and they knew. But it's like, it's not how it works. Like, the Old Testament's completely different, the New Testament's completely different. Or like, hey, the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they all are accounts of Jesus' life, but they're all totally different when you read them. It's like, they're not the same account. Like, oh, Mark says Jesus said this, Matthew said Jesus says this. Like, they're not a singular account. They're all different. So you just learn to take the Bible one book at a time instead of thinking this whole text is like just some irrevocable word of God. Then the Bible, I think, is a little bit better of a book. I learned to appreciate it later down the road once I understood that. But learning in school, they don't teach you like that. They try to...
This is the word of God.
Yeah. So it's like, it's the idea
Read it and don't ask questions.
Basically, it's the idea of like, there's dogma and then there's, data. Like, dogma is just this is the belief, believe it. Whereas like, let's say data or studying and understanding like, hey, no, all this is different. They don't teach you that a lot. So a lot of it was just like, hey, here's the belief. We want you to believe in it. Not like, we're not going to give you a reason for why you should really believe in it outside of like the dogmatic ideas of why, like, hey, you'll go to hell if you don't believe in this. Like, well, what is hell? How do I know it's real? It's like, oh, it just is. Like, okay. So
yeah, has anyone ever like said to you, don't question God?
Yeah.
And like how do you feel about that, I guess, saying when people say that? Like, how do you feel about that? Because I know I question God all the time. And unless you question them, you don't really get the answers. But like, what do you feel? How do you feel about people saying, take this word, believe it, and don't question it?
Well, that's that's dogma. That's just like a dogmatic thing to say, right? Where it's like, hey, believe in this, don't question God, and don't ask why. To me, like even as a kid, I was like, that's weird. I like asking why. That's my favorite question. I love asking why because
Right.
I grew up learning also a lot of science. And science, the whole point is to ask why. Well, why does it work this way? Why did things happen this way? Religion, that's the one question they don't like. Is like, well, why? I was like, this isn't. That's when I knew this isn't for me. But I guess also with your question of like, don't question God, how I feel about it. I don't know. It's always going to be like really fishy. I had something else I wanted to say. I forgot it, but
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sure.
sorry.
No,
I don't
no.
know. I just feel like, to, talk about or preach the gospel and like preach about this benevolent God who loves and he has all of this love. And then in the same breath, say, if you don't do X, Y, and Z this way, then it's, benevolent, being will send you to hell.
Oh, okay. I remember I was going to say that based on what you just said. So two things. One, that's one of the when you start learning philosophy, especially the philosophy of religion, and specifically the Christian framework, you realize the greatest contradiction of the Christian God is the four omnis. So if you're a Christian, you believe God is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent, meaning he can do everything, he's everywhere, he knows everything, he's always good. And that inherently creates a huge contradiction with the world we live in, or even the belief system itself. It's like, hey, if you do something bad, Nikita, God is going to send you to hell, to eternal pain and torment. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any sense. Like, because one, that's not a nice thing to do. Like, why did he create the opportunity for you to even do something bad if he's always good? Two, he's omniscient. He already knew I was going to do it before I was ever born. Like, that just seems like a dick move. I was just supposed to just go to hell.
Let me dangle this carrot over your
Right?
head and don't fucking bite it. I don't care if you're hungry or not.
And if he's all powerful, why couldn't he create a world that, doing evil is just impossible? It's like there's a lot of contradictions with him having all four. So that's one. And then two, I guess when people say don't question God, and yada yada yada, my question would be, how do I even know God exists? Like, how do I know your idea of God is like the right one?
See, but I think that's like the scary thing about it, though, is like you can say something like that and the majority actually follows it. You know what I mean? Like, I think that is probably what, like, once I actually removed myself from religion and trying to be this perfect child of God in order to make it to the gates of heaven and, God be happy with me. That was when I like looked back and was like, damn, like I've been fucking brainwashed and mind fucked my entire life. And I allowed myself to kind of be sucked up into it. You know what I mean? Like, and so, yeah, I think that is the most scariest part about religion is that the majority doesn't stand up and question, the teachings for themselves. It's just like, I'm going to take your word for it because you are, I guess, anointed by God to teach the gospel, and just the power that they give to these leaders is also scary because it's almost like you're superior and I'm inferior and God gives you a little extra something and I'm just like, here is, to follow. And so I think that's also dangerous too. Because you have power, like we all are powerful beings. We all are created from God in his likeness and his image. So if I come from you, I have what you have. You know what I mean? Like it may not be as powerful as, from the source, but I still have that creativity, that power, and so I think, yeah, that's another one of my hang-ups.
Well, I think one of the interesting things about the evolution of religion is what made it so weird was that, like, let's say Christianity, right, spawned 2,000 years ago, which kind of insane when you think about it. Like, oh, this is like a belief system that's like 2,000 years old that we still believe, or we still keep the belief alive today. But the reason it became so prevalent was because for a long period of time in human history, even after that point, we didn't really have a lot of answers to things. There was no reason for us to question the belief because it was like the best framework we had for a long time. Like, oh, well, why am I here? How does the world work? It's like, well, it's all God's will. It's like, I have no counter to that, so I'll just make sense to me. But one of the biggest innovations of, like, let's say the last 3 centuries or so is humans started to acquire a lot of understanding about the world, the universe, our place in it, like, and it robbed religion of the ability to answer the why question, or no, not the why, but more like the what, the how, the more concrete questions. So people are definitely questioning religion a lot more now than they were before. It's probably increasing more every single year.
Yeah, and it'll only get, even, I think, because I honestly think that it's taken a turn. So I think as we continue to evolve, the cat is kind of out of the bag, and I think that it'll potentially evolve into something else. I don't know, who knows, within the next hundreds of thousands of years. But I want to go back to.
I'd be surprised if it lasts. If Christianity lasts another 100,000, if it lasts 100,000 years, I don't think the idea is ever going to.
I feel like we evolve in that, like kind of slow. You know what I mean? Because you said, like, all of these centuries ago, we didn't really start asking the why or the how, the what, until like 3 centuries ago. So, like, there was a really big time period where we just accepted it as law and didn't really question it. It was just like, oh, I'm grateful for it. But to even get back to that point, like, I also appreciate religion because, it gives people something to believe in, and it gives people hope, and it gives, it does a lot of great things. I think that human nature and the power trip and just people's egos can get in the way of this beautiful system that mankind has created. So I do think that there are pros associated with religion. Yeah, I don't think that it's all bad. I just wanted to make that point because, like, although I am in a different kind of space in my life where I don't really subscribe to any one religion, I do believe in them all. I do believe that they're all the same thing. They all kind of, at the essence of the message, is all the same at its core. And I do appreciate what it does for people, especially in time of need.
So, like, I remember I was in a philosophy class, and I had a professor tell me about this, where religion in the modern day definitely has lost its ability to answer certain questions, but the understanding of the existence, the understanding of the universe is not so simple that you can just explain it all with science. Science also can't answer every question.
That's true.
But religion, it's purpose and the reason why faith will probably always be a thing is because it does give meaning to someone's life on a subjective level. Like, religion still has a value to a person. If it gives you a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose in your life, that's all that it already paid for itself in terms of value. That's,
right.
So it's like, yeah, science can explain the intricacies of how the universe works, but if you want to, but it won't give you any meaning in all of these things. In fact, the whole point is it's supposed to be devoid of any deeper meaning. But
right.
religion can say, well, wait, like knowing all this, I choose to believe in X, Y, or Z. And that's something that will never go away.
Right.
Faith will always be a thing. Like, will this particular religions we have now last forever? I don't know. Maybe they'll probably change over time. But the whole idea that they all, I guess, believe in at their core that there's a higher purpose, a greater meaning to my life, that maybe there's something after all of this, that will never go away. That's just like a core human belief. Like us looking up at the sky, trying to understand the world. That's just the first thing we thought of, and it makes perfect sense. Like, hey, maybe I'm here, maybe there's something greater than me that's also doing something similar to me, like looking out for me, creating, maybe something made all this, maybe there's some deeper purpose to why I'm here. Like, existence is so nebulous and interesting. Like, what am I going to do with this gift? Why am I here?
I think you struck a chord when you said looking up into the sky. I think like that was another really big turning point in my personal spiritual journey when I started to kind of ask those questions, why and how, what, and who, is, the realization that I am not separate from God. So instead of like looking up in search for God, like I started to look within, because God is within all of us. And so, so yeah, I just kind of struck a chord when you said that. But I do want to talk about like how religion is polarizing and what that says about God Almighty. You know what I mean? Because
I need more.
Just like with different religions, you know what I mean? Like with Judaism and Christianity, Catholicism, what is it? Islam, yeah. Islam. Like, they all, have this idea or this belief that their God is better than the other. You know what I mean? And it's almost, it creates this separation. And I think that's the, that it's just like the opposite of like what, the source, which is God, Allah, universe, whatever, like what he stands for. You know what I mean?
I think the funny thing is that Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, we don't believe in the same God.
Exactly. It's just a different name.
Like literally, like we all three religions acknowledge that we all believe in like the Abrahamic God. Like, yeah, like we all believe the same God. We have different, lore, not even different lore. It's all, we all acknowledge, because like Islam acknowledges like, oh, the Bible, we believe in that stuff. We just have extra stuff. Christianity is like, yeah, we use the Old Testament. We believe in that stuff. I guess Judaism is like, we just believe in our stuff. I guess because I guess they were first, so I guess they can say that like we just believe in our stuff. But yeah, but even like with like Hinduism or things like that,
Buddhism, yeah.
I mean, I think on one hand, that's like a human element to a religion. It's in the same way of like, hey, I believe in this thing, and therefore I think my thing is right.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like a sports team.
Exactly. I'm debating if I want to say sports team, but yeah, it's like I'm part of Team Christian. I'm part of Team Judaism. Mine is right. No, mine is right.
Yeah.
It's when you think about it, it seems really silly, but like the whole point is like it's also very human that like, well, I don't want to acknowledge your thing might be right. My thing is right.
Exactly.
I mean, for God's sake, Christians are. But that's not going to acknowledge Christians. Everybody's like this. I have more experience with Christians using this line of thinking, like, no, other religions are wrong. Only ours is right. If you don't believe ours,
exactly.
you're going to go to hell. Like,
yeah.
You're going to be punished forever. Like, damn. Is that serious?
Yeah, and I think the only difference with spirituality is that we understand and we intuitively know that it's all the same shit. It's all the same God. It's all the same message. It's just different methods and different means of like getting there. Yeah. But at the end of the day, it all goes to the same source. So.
I chose the opposite route. I said, "Oh, I'm gonna separate from all of this. Like, I'm done." Like, I was like, I think I acknowledged what you said when I was younger. I was like, this all seems like the same shit. I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna just leave it alone.
Okay.
I said,
I have a question then. Like, what is your belief in Satan?
What is my belief in him?
Yeah, like what, or not belief, but like what is your, I guess, understanding and opinion and thoughts about him?
I guess Satan is God. I probably doesn't exist. I think the Christian concept to me doesn't make a lot of sense, so I don't really believe in it. But I guess that's it.
I don't believe in it either. Like I feel like it is only real if you give it power and if you believe in it, because like the human mind is powerful as fuck. Like it is extremely powerful in that if you actually believe it, you make it real. So the moment that you shift, there's a shift in perspective. It all goes away, and it's just that simple. Because like I can remember like believing in this devil and like not wanting to do the wrong things to even piss him off. You know what I mean? and so you know, I think that I would. I guess what am I trying to say? Like He was real. So I would believe that like certain shit happened to me because I did X, Y, and Z and I was under the attack of this devil. And, you know, I was, you know, playing a victim and that, you know, in those scenarios or whatever. But it was like once I chose not to believe in this devil, this idea of Satan, I think that the shift of like blaming an external source on like my troubles and my problems shifted to I only have myself to blame. And from there I was able to see like how I was causing these experiences to come into gear and to play in my life. And you know, I was able to learn and grow and eliminate them, you know what I mean, and just kind of like take control and take charge of everything that happens in my life, as opposed to putting it off on this external devil thing and you know, kind of playing a victim. So
I get that.
But if you believe it, you make it real.
Subjectively, sure. If you believe in it, then like from the perspective you created, it has some hold or meaning to you. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Unless you mean like literally real.
What do you mean literally real?
I mean, like metaphorically, like I agree. Like words
this
like
well, I mean, what do you mean? Like, I don't understand what you mean.
I mean, like in the concept of ideas. Like if this idea can have meaning or power if you give it any type of credence or sway over your decision making, your perspective about life. I think that's true. Like ideas, like if I believed in the idea of like, oh, the devil is out there, like, and he's swaying.
Okay, but what's the flip side to that, though?
Like if he was like, if like the flip side would be like literally real. Like if I.
Yeah, like, people think that this is literally real. Like they even like put like a I could give it a gender and like an image, and you know.
Yeah, I would say that I think that I don't believe like
Oh,
literally real. Yeah.
yeah, literally real, as in the, I guess, energy, like
Hmm.
this dark energy, maybe. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, when does he determine, or this energy, I hate that I even give him, like, like make him a man, but like, when does this energy like choose to attack me?
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, when does this energy choose to say, all right, I'm gonna let you get a pass, and I'm not gonna
Mm.
bring you any, turmoil right at the second. Like,
I get that. I get what you're saying.
yeah.
I totally understand.
So
From
how do you feel about it? Oh, you already said, you don't.
so like
Okay.
I feel like now it's like discussion about like our perspectives of like our daily perspectives of like, oh, like how do I view my existence and what framework do I use to like move through all this. For me, I have a very physicalist view of the universe, view of like my life, where it's like whatever I can see and understand, that's the extent of like I believe in things I know are real.
So wait, you don't have any faith? Is that what you're saying?
No.
You don't?
No.
I don't know. I think maybe in a larger sense you don't, but I think,
I
like,
believe I'm like agnostic, you could say. I'm not against the idea that like there's something greater than myself. You know what I mean? I'm not against the idea of it, that like maybe there is out there like something. Do I subscribe to any current religious beliefs? No, but like the concept, I'm not against the idea. If that
gotcha.
You know what I mean? The
Okay,
possibility.
I see what you're saying. But
Yeah.
if it's not physically
There's no
here,
evidence
where
for it. I'm not
yeah,
giving
you're
it
like,
any.
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
that makes
I'm just
sense.
because that's the philosophical, scientific side of me was like, if there's no evidence, I'm not going to give it too much credence.
Energy.
Like,
Right.
so it's like okay, like, so for me, it's like whatever's here, whatever can be explained, whatever can be shown, then like yeah, that's pretty much the extent of when I'll start believing in something.
Gotcha.
But I try to draw a distinction between like okay, faith and like knowledge. I like to stay more like okay, what do I know is real versus like what do I believe is real.
I used to have that perspective actually when I was in the church, like, trying to figure out religion or whatever, and it's almost like I took a more logical approach to life. And so it was like, if I can't make it happen, and I can't physically, bring it into fruition, like, all right, maybe it's not for me. And so I think, like, I had a really, really choppy relationship with faith, because, like, I didn't feel like I had any power. I feel like, if it wasn't anointed and given to me from the pastor or whoever the leader is from the church, then I wouldn't be able to attain it. And so, yeah, I used to kind of have a more logical approach to life for a while. And now I am kind of letting my emotional side take control and be able to feel. And with that, I do feel things about to happen or see it, in the near future. And I feel it, and the feeling is real, and I can see the outcome. And so I think that brought me like this level of faith, manifestation, whatever you want to call it. And so, yeah. But I used to be exactly like that.
I think for me it was like
I wish he shut up. Go ahead.
What? Oh, the dog.
Yeah.
For me, it was maybe like a little bit different. I guess if I can kind of look at it the way you are, it's not even just that I was super logical. I didn't like the idea. I never liked the idea of giving up to a higher power. It's not even that I said like. For me, it was like a position of like everything in life is going to come from me. Whereas like Like I don't manifest things. I don't think that like a higher power gives me things or sways my life. I think it's just me. So it was almost super egotistical. Like it's just Moses all the way down. So it's like whatever.
But that's true though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
So like Kid Moses wanted to take his life into his own hands.
Yeah.
Then, like it's just Moses. But yeah, this can branch off into. This is a huge topic. There's so many ways this could branch off into other things too.
Yeah, well, I think we should wrap this up. We just kind of gave our introduction into, our views on religion and God, and we can definitely pick it back up and kind of go into more detail about either of those topics. Yeah, for sure. So I don't have anything else to add. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap it up?
I think I'm good.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Everybody, go to church tomorrow or something.